All right, welcome to another episode of Straight Talk with Lori and Mel, and we are not late as you see the clock, 3:30 on the dot. We're on time for once, Mel.
4:30 for you, 5:30 for me over here in Florida. How's everybody doing?
We'd
We're
like
uh
to
we're
welcome Lemmy, Loki, Miss Luck. How you guys doing today?
we got all the L's, don't we?
Oh my gosh, we do. Loki, Lemmy, Luck, Lori. Yeah, we are. This is the
We've got
L.
the L's and the M's. Now we need the rest of the alphabet to join us, huh?
A lot of people keep forgetting on Wednesdays we go a little earlier, but it'll pick up. Usually after what, about 10, 15 minutes they start coming
Yeah,
in.
yeah,
So
that's fabulous. Great to see everybody. Loki, Lemmy, Miss Luck. Hope everybody's doing well wherever you're coming to us from. I'm sitting here over in Florida in the high 70s. Hey, Victoria.
hey,
Hey,
Amanda.
Amanda.
We're in the high 70s too, with a nice breeze. So, yep. Hey, Lacey.
Lacey, hey, welcome. Thanks everybody for joining Lori and for joining me. And I fed my dogs. Hopefully they're not going to join in the live stream here, but they're trying to mind their P's and Q's. And it's not storming, so if it's not storming where you are, hopefully Lori, yours will stay chill.
Let's just nobody walks by the dog walkers. Because the weather's nice, so new people have been moving in. They're walking their dogs too, and bikes and cars are. Yeah, let's just hope they're not by the window. So
UPS, yeah, the UPS guys, yeah.
yes.
So hey, I think most of our
Hey,
crew is
Brookie.
most of our crew's dog or pet friendly, so they understand. Hey, Brooke,
Hey, Roland. Thank you for coming by, everybody. I do see
Roland.
that a couple people have tried the cornbread recipe already. I'm glad you guys liked it.
Oh,
So,
I saw that, and I love making that creamed corn casserole and cornbread and stuff like that. Hey, little Jeffrey.
and people say you lose them with the cream corn, but the thing is you don't taste the cream corn. All it does is make the cornbread richer. That's all it
Yeah, oh, it
does.
looked good. And I love that addition of the butter with the sugar in it on top. I mean, that's like, okay, now I have to go look into my pantry. I know I've got the Jiffy cornbread mix. I know I've got a can of creamed corn. So that looked like dessert to me.
It is, and after it's very rich as a side dish with your meal, but then you can use it for your coffee in the morning or your tea, or put it with vanilla ice cream at night.
I
That's
know
what
when you
makes it so
mentioned
good.
ice cream. Oh my gosh, you mentioned ice cream, and I was like, okay, she had me at the ice cream. That's worth taking my lactase for my stomach, so I can add the ice cream. She's killing me here.
It is very rich, and my mistake is they have a new one out. I always used to add honey, but now Jiffy actually adds it with the honey. So when I added
Oh,
my own honey, it actually made it even very, very decadent and rich. So I'm going to cut back next time and try it without adding any more honey. But if you don't have the cornbread with the honey already in it, add your honey.
ooh. Oh, and Loki says after the butter and sugar melts, try glazing it with the honey and then bake in a few more minutes. Oh, that sounds good. That sounds like it would maybe make like a little crusty glaze on
Crust.
top.
Yep.
Ooh.
See, I did that before. Tim doesn't like it that way. So, but like I said, everybody can be creative. I just gave the base recipe and then let everybody think of all the different ideas that they could do with it when they make it. So,
I'm
just easy, simple meals that people on the go and maybe don't know how to cook or don't cook very often. These are easy meals that they can all make to impress their spouses or their kids or a date, or friends, something like that.
Well, I'm in that latter category because I don't cook often or don't cook much and don't necessarily cook well. I did make dinner for my boyfriend last week and made I used chicken breasts and then you mix a can of cream of mushroom, a can of cream of chicken, and a container of sour cream together, and that makes the sauce that you pour over it
Mhm.
and let that bake. And oh, it's good. And made some jasmine rice and then added a side of broccoli. And I actually cooked. I think the man almost fell over, but it was good.
All
So,
right, Amanda, take care of yourself. I would have probably added melted some cheese over that while it was in the oven.
you know, that's a good idea. And also, you can do like crumble bacon bits on top of it, or Another thing is to use that gravy later over some chipped beef. Ooh, good stuff. Good stuff. We might have to do a cooking segment. Who knows?
Yep. So,
So
all right.
today, today, folks, we are talking about, if you read the thumbnail, you saw we are talking about in relationships. We want to look at things that can be negotiable in a relationship, things that might be non-negotiable, and working on compromises in relationships. And keep in mind when we're talking about relationships, it could be in a marriage or a committed partnership, it could be in a dating relationship, or it could be in any other kind of relationship. So y'all have to, don't have to, I mean, y'all can apply these to any kind of relationship. It doesn't have to be just partnerships, but that tends to be primarily what we focus on. And a lot of the content that we're coming up with really comes from comments and things that are made or that have been made in previous shows. So um, today we decided we'd focus on what can be negotiable or non-negotiable in a relationship. And let's start by asking the chat, based on your experience with relationships, what are some things that maybe have been non-negotiables for you? Things that, and Lori and I can answer this too, but things that maybe just were non-negotiable in a relationship. Maybe it was a committed relationship and you said, okay, this is a non-negotiable for me now in the relationship. I know for me, hey, Meg, once I'm in a committed relationship, it's non-negotiable for me that we're going to have sex with other people. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but for committed relationship, that's one of my non-negotiables.
Let's see. For me, well, what I'm willing to negotiate on would be time for ourselves that we set aside.
All right, so that's non-negotiable that you're wanting that time set aside for you guys.
No, that would, oh, you want a non-negotiable.
Non-negotiables.
Okay. Is that if we're dating, it's strictly mano a mano. Even though we're
Yeah.
just dating, I don't want to be dating three or four different people at the same time, and I don't want the partner I'm dating to be dating other people. Period.
Yeah, yeah, and that was it for me too. That once I'm dating somebody and we've decided we're dating each other, that's it. We're just dating each other. Lemmy said that the non-negotiables: cheating, stealing, and lying. And Loki said, "Yeah, you nailed it, Lemmy. Yeah, that it's non-negotiable. We don't want to worry about is my partner cheating? Are they stealing? Are they lying to me? Are they telling me half truths? Are they lying by omission? We just don't want to have to worry about those kinds of things when we're in relationships.
See, I worry about those once I know it's going to lead somewhere. If we're just dating, because I don't want to put those limitate those oh, every time you get into a date, that's going to be the one you're marrying. So I do agree those are non-negotiables, but I think once I start getting serious, then that's when another talk. But from the beginning, hey, Army vet, welcome. Um, the male Army vet, everybody, so you know who that is.
Hey,
um,
Army Vet.
uh, to me, there's different stages in relationships that should have non-negotiables and negotiables and compromises.
That's a good point. So it might be that as a dating relationship progresses, the negotiables, non-negotiables may
Change.
change.
Yep.
So it may flux and it may change, and that brings up a good point that this is something that oh, Lemmy, you just read my mind. I was just going to use
Yep.
that C word, that communication, that for any long lasting relationship and for these negotiables and non-negotiables to work is communication. I swear to goodness, Lemmy, you read my notes.
But you know what comes with that? It's a two-sided listening. If
Yes.
you're the other person has to be open to listen to what's being communicated.
Absolutely. I think so many times we think of communication as being the speaking part, the talking part. And communication really can't take place unless There's also listening. We talked about the difference a few weeks ago about the difference between hearing and listening. Listening is really listening to the message. And then not only just listening, but understanding and checking out that understanding. I may hear the words that my boyfriend is saying, but am I really listening to his message and am I checking it out with him? Am I comprehending what he means when he says something? Is he comprehending what I'm saying or the meaning behind what I say? Maybe I say something and he interprets it one way and it's not what I mean. So, communication that's clear means that when we receive a message from another person, we want to be sure that we've understood it the way that they intended it. And Lemmy, you're exactly right. Communication is the key to a long-lasting relationship, and checking out the meaning of what we say and was it understood. And I'll give you an example. And I'm guilty of this, and I was guilty of this recently, and not in the relationship with my boyfriend, but in something that I sent to someone else, and that was a text. I sent a text to someone that was long, and it was something I should have said in person, because even though I meant what I said in the text, sometimes texts are not the best way to communicate. And I don't take back anything I said in the text, but I think by communicating in a text, maybe it didn't come across the way I intended. Or maybe it did, but I didn't have a chance to really explain what I meant. So communication really is key. And that's a super important point. When we go back, Miss Luck said something in terms of non-negotiable, and that's physical violence, somebody hitting someone. Um, that would be a main non-negotiable with me. And I think for most people, maybe male and female, somebody strikes me, that's it. They can kiss their ass, pardon my language, but they can kiss their ass goodbye. That's complete non-negotiable. And when I was working with clients, I can remember both male and female saying, "Oh, well, he or she struck me, but it was only once." Big red flag. Big red
Yeah,
flag.
that's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah, what else would be non-negotiables? Things that just wouldn't fly for you guys in a relationship, no matter what kind.
Somebody not willing, how do you say it? Somebody who's not willing to take instructions like for personal relations, sex. I'm just going to say, if they're not willing to help and compromise what I like, as well as just taking care of their needs, that's out. They're done.
Okay, I think that's really important because I think when it comes to intimacy, physical, sexual intimacy, it's important that couples communicate and that there's a give and take there. If it's only one-sided, no, we're only going to do what she says or what he says, and if it's not reciprocated or discussed, yeah, I think that would be a big non-negotiable. We joked around last time, and we've joked around other times about me being the toy lady, the sex toy lady, and the sex toy conversation. But if one partner's not into sex toys, then that's something that needs to be discussed. It,
See, I
uh-oh, there,
told you. Hold on.
Lori's dog saw something. If one only wanted to use, that got my dog going. If one only wanted to use sex toys, then that might be an issue with another partner. So yeah, those are things that definitely they need to be discussed. That could be a deal breaker. And when I use the terms deal breaker, it's not a deal breaker if a couple's able to discuss whatever the topic is and come to a compromise. And we're going to talk about compromises. It's a deal breaker, though, if couples can't come to resolution, if they can't compromise. And we're going to talk a little bit later about what exactly makes something a compromise. So let's see what else people in chat are saying. Oh, let me point it out something else. So let's say a couple discusses something, but then they don't do what they say, or somebody agrees to something but they don't follow through. So that's a good point too. Um, so following through and doing what you say, not holding things against you. Okay. What else would be non-negotiables for people? Let's see. No
Pets. Let's talk
violence.
about animals. That's a big one. Or kids.
Kids. All right. Whether or not to have children.
Yep.
Kids.
Some people want a dog right off the bat, or some people, something little like that.
Right. Right. Hey, Kata. Honesty and loyalty. Those are huge things. Huge things. And
Hey, Anna.
I'm gonna I'm gonna say this right off the bat. Army vet says I thought women were in charge of sex and men were in charge of the relationship.
Hey, we
Well,
love you being messy. Our chat's about that, Army Vet. It's
sometimes,
open and
yeah.
fun.
The thing about honesty, loyalty, trust, and I'd like to get Chat's opinion. Have any of you ever experienced a situation where, hey, little Joker, where those words were kind of tossed around in a relationship, but they weren't really honored in a relationship?
No follow through.
Yeah, no follow through. Because I think those words are used a lot. I know when I was counseling couples, we'd ask couples lots of times, well, what are the non-negotiables? And I think these words would come up a lot: honesty, trust, loyalty, monogamy. But then it was almost like they were expected, but it wasn't like there was a lot of follow through sometimes in couples. What do you guys think? Loki says, "Yep, been there." So the words were there, but the actions weren't there. Is that what I'm hearing? Victoria says, when the other person's verbally abusive, leaving rude voicemails, don't have your phone, can't answer, very secretive, don't allow the other person to comment on stuff. Yeah, secrecy. Yeah, non-negotiable, the secrecy. That is not good. That doesn't leave the other person feeling very secure in a relationship. Verbal
But
abuse.
we gotta make sure we watch that line though between secrecy and privacy. Because everybody deserves privacy as long as they haven't given you reason to make you think that they're doing something too.
Good point. Really good point. Verbal abuse, definite non-negotiable. Any type of abuse. Well, let's hang on that for just a second with Victoria. Verbal abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse. Miss Luck spoke to this a couple of weeks ago, and any type of abuse is non-negotiable. Period. Definitely non-negotiable. Abusers will promise the world, they'll manipulate, they'll promise, I'll never do it again. It's got to be a non-negotiable for someone's mental and physical health. It's got to be a non-negotiable. And we could do a whole show on that, and in the future we will probably be doing a show on that. So I don't want to get too much into it today, but I'm going to say, as a retired mental health counselor, no type of abuse should ever be tolerated. Not toward an animal, not toward a person, not toward property. If you are in a relationship and someone is prone to putting their fist through a wall, slamming doors, throwing dishes, I don't care if they're male or female, those red flags are telling you something, and they are not to be tolerated. And those people typically do not change. If you're getting the sense somebody is destructive and abusive, follow your intuition. Follow your intuition and do not allow yourself to be in a situation where somebody is physically,
I
verbally,
got
emotionally, or mentally abusive.
I've got to interrupt you for a second, and I'm so sorry, but I haven't
No,
seen Sheena. You need to reach out to either Triple T or me and give me your address, or I can't send you your ticket. Meet the Mets. I need you to get your information to either Little Buddy or to Artie and Jaw, and or send me your address on IG. I have to be. It's under my name, but I can't send you your raffle ticket if I don't have an address. So please, Sheena and Meet the Mets. I need your address. thank you for coming in and supporting us. So I'm sorry, Mel. It's the first
No,
time I've
no
seen him
problem.
in
No, no
days. So
problem. And
okay,
hey,
go ahead.
Gina and Meet Demetz and Roadhog and little Jeffrey. Hey, everybody. Welcome. No, just to go back and summarize, in any way, if there's, hey, Sally Sniffles, if anybody is abusive in any way, these are not people that you give second chances to, third chances, fourth chances. We don't give second chances to abusive people. I'm just going to lay that out there. Um, it's it's not going to turn out well, and it doesn't matter how good of a person you are. It doesn't matter how patient a person you are. It doesn't matter how big your heart is. Do not put your mental, physical, and emotional safety on the line with somebody who is abusive. Period. I'm just going to lay that out there. That is a non negotiable. And sometimes, depending on what our childhoods have been like or what our other relationships have been like, we may feel like we owe it to somebody or that we want to give somebody the benefit of the doubt. Your life is important. You are important. And you deserve to be safe in every way there is to be safe. So that's all I'm going to say about it right now. But just know that in the future, we will probably be addressing this topic in more detail. And with that, we will have a lot of trigger warnings and we'll give a lot of people advance notice and we'll have resources put up for people to have access to. But that's what I'm going to say to that today. So, yeah, Caddis said, walk the walk, don't just talk the talk. Yeah, being degraded for doing everyday activities, always having an issue if you're out doing things, you can't live your life. Kata, there's another good one, non-negotiable, not tolerating lies. And if somebody lies about little things, then you start to question, will they lie about bigger things? And that's not the basis that anybody wants to have for a good, solid relationship. Um, And I'm not talking about, lying like for a surprise. So they're going to surprise you for your birthday or for a holiday, those kind of things. But when there's secrecy and lies, then you start to wonder, well, now is there going to be something big that jumps out at me? I'm looking through chat here just to see what else you guys have had as non-negotiables.
Let's see.
I think we've got most
Yeah,
of them.
Nichols, welcome. Hey, Vicky, how you doing? I'm sorry you had to go to urgent care for pneumonia yesterday.
Oh my goodness. I hope you feel better. Hey,
It says
motivated.
Sally. Had to take Sally. MOL, how you doing? Uh, yeah, we can't hold up the type of people they are. We can't hold it against them. We just got to know that it's not for us because there's somebody for somebody out there, and if they need to find what they. I'm trying to look.
Yeah, I think we've pretty much touched on a lot of the big
Yeah.
non-negotiables. So
So
what are some things that you would be willing to negotiate on? What are some things that you think? I'll give you an example.
finances.
Finances. Okay. Smoking was one for me. I was with a smoker. I didn't want
Yep.
smoking in my house, so he was willing to smoke on the screen and patio. So that was something that we compromised on. That was a negotiable kind of sort of. What are some things that might be negotiable that you're willing to work out with somebody? Lori, have there been other negotiables for you
Yeah,
in
amount
mind?
of kids. Like if one wants four and one wants one, find a compromise. I would compromise on the
There you go.
kids, where we live, compromise on that. Uh,
Yeah, so maybe location, maybe the number of
yeah.
kids.
And smoking is too because it fit my ex and my husband both smoke. But the compromise is you could smoke, but before you kiss me or touch me, you wash your hands or brush your teeth.
Yeah.
It has to
Yeah.
be outside at all times.
Yeah, Loki, I like that. Yeah, now I'm the same way. I can't stand a drunk. If somebody's a social drinker, that's okay. But that's something maybe in terms of social drinking, what's tolerable. Cata says sports. Okay, so Lemmy and his wife have, she doesn't smoke weed, but he grows for dispensaries and smokes, so she doesn't mind him smoking. So that's a
Yep.
good compromise. So
For
hey,
me, a
Howard.
lot of compromises were for Tim for his career in the military. It was like when he wanted to go into like drill sergeant, I knew for 3 years that he'd be gone from like 4 in the morning to like maybe 11, 12 o'clock at night. That was
Oh
a
yeah.
lot. It's somebody's career. You got to be able to compromise. Are you willing for each other to grow?
Oh yeah. Oh, Miss Lucky, yeah, music.
Yes. That compromises this. When I'm in the car, I don't care if I'm driving or passenger. The music's what I want.
Yeah, no,
He,
that's true. That's true. No, no, but music, hobbies, things like that, those obviously can be negotiable. That's true though. I mean, especially, I'm a military brat, so they're obviously mom had to go wherever dad was, shipped out to and assigned, unless, of course, when he went overseas. So yeah, if somebody's in the military, you have to be able to negotiate that, or maybe somebody who is with a truck driver, or any other career where maybe somebody travels a lot. So yeah, you have to be able to negotiate those things. If you're with someone whose career, maybe they do shift work. I know for a while, in my career, I was doing emergency room evaluations, working 3 to 11:30. So that meant that oftentimes I was not available, to go out to dinner during the week. So what else would people find they could negotiate with a partner on? Loki says if K-pop's playing, then that's a big red flag. Oh, darn, Loki. So no K-pop, huh? So what else is negotiable for people? Hey, J Jack. So for some people, it might
hey,
be
J Jack,
drug
Harley.
recreational drug use. For some people, it might be, limit of drinking. It might be where they move. What else would be negotiable for you? So Lori
Okay,
said,
let me. I don't
"Yes."
know that question. What do you mean? How many times did you sneak to go see Triple T beyond? He lived in Kansas and I was stationed at Fort Knox. So we only got the weekends. So every weekend we snuck to see each other with our kids in tow.
I'm trying to think of other things that could be negotiable. Yeah, kind of like my place or yours. Um, I'd say, just the kinds of dates or things that people go to do together. Harley. Oh, I'm sorry, Harley.
No, it's a good thing for her. It's positive. She
Oh,
shed
okay.
about 200 pounds from this. So she is happy. It's a
Oh,
good thing.
you're 200 pounds lighter because of divorce. Harley, I feel you. I gotcha. I gotcha. I
Excuse me.
shed a lot of weight that way too one time.
No, it's a good thing with her. This is definitely one that you throw one of those. I never could understand because divorce isn't, even if it's a good thing and mutually, it's still, it is rough. And so when people go and throw parties like, oh, but in her case, I could see she wants a party.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I appreciate that, Jay Jack. That's what I do with you, even though you guys fool me when you go live sometimes. But and your music is, he does music. He's really good, up and comer, and he's got some good sounds. Everybody, check him out.
Oh, that's awesome, J Jack. Love to check you out. Lemmy, that's awesome for you that you've been sober for 20 years. That's pretty
Oh
cool.
wow, congratulations, Lemmy. That's a big accomplishment.
Yeah, that would be good. Tommy Vet says, I'm single now. I don't negotiate with terrorists. Yeah, a bucket list might be negotiable. I know, my boyfriend and I talk about like things that are on our bucket list, places we'd like to visit, things we'd like to do. We talk about places we'd like to go on vacation, or even like RV camping, things, places we'd like to go and stuff like that. So those are the kinds of things that can be negotiable. The thing about negotiables and non-negotiables is that Kata says skydiving is out. Negotiables and non-negotiables can be big or small. It really depends
Mm,
on the couple and what's important to them. Um, and it can be different for obviously even for the same person, depending on who they're with. It might be different in different relationships.
I was
Uh,
just going to say, you know what, and your negotiables can actually change for the right person. What you wouldn't tolerate for one person in your life or for many, but then that one person comes along and you realize that some of your negotiables are now non negotiables and your non negotiables are now negotiables.
yeah,
It,
and
it's
I've
just about the feelings.
I agree, and I've noticed that too, and also I've noticed that, Lori, as I've gotten older, um, just some of the things that probably I maybe wouldn't have even done 10 or 15 years ago. Now I see them a little differently in my life. So I I
Yeah.
think I think you're right. I think it has to do with maybe the person we're with, maybe how we've evolved as a person, and then just how we fit together with different people in our lives. Um, so I like what Shanna said, tolerated a lot of BS, for one. So now the non-negotiables have changed. And I think, Shanna, that's a really good point. We evolve as people as we go through life. And somebody repeated this to me recently. And she said, you know more now about what you don't want in addition to what you want. And I don't know what you guys think, but for me, that's true. As I get older, I know more not just about what I want, but I also know about what I don't want in life. And so that helps me also with my negotiables and my non-negotiables. It's like, what am I willing to contribute and not willing to contribute? What am I willing to tolerate and not willing to tolerate? And what do you guys think about that? Have any of you noticed that your non-negotiables have changed? Are there any in particular that have changed?
Mine was more, I was never possessive, but when I found my person, Tim,
Hmm.
I noticed that over time I get more and more possessive. I'm more protective because I'm willing to do stuff that usually wouldn't bother me, but I don't know. There's just certain things that when life happens, you find yourself changing, you know?
Yeah.
And I find myself, I'm actually more territorial, more, I never used to be younger, but as you get older, yeah.
Yeah. And Lori, you used a really good word there. I think, we think about being possessive, but I think really that term that you use, protective. We want to protect, we want to nurture and protect things that we value. You think about something that you value in life, whether it's your children, your grandchildren, your partner, your home, your car, whatever, you want to protect it. And while some people may see that as being possessive, I think it essentially is being protective. We don't want anything to happen to the things and to the people that we value. If we didn't value, we'd go, oh well, I don't care. I don't care if something happens to that person. Um, but because we do value it, we do feel protective. And while
Like
sometimes,
cheating. It used to be like, oh,
yeah,
well, you know what? If I'm not going to blame the chick. And it's like, dude, if you want to cheat, then you, honey, take him because if he did it to me, he's going to do it to you, but you have him with a bow on it. Now, Tim, I would neuter him and then say, okay, now go.
yeah, and well,
That's mine.
you have an expectation now. We've built this life together. We're in this
That's right.
together. And so now that's a non-negotiable. And so there is that sense of possession, but it's a sense of protection. It's the sense of we've made this commitment to each other. Whatever this relationship is, this is ours, and it's sacred, and it's not meant to be compromised. That's a different definition of compromise. There's a definition of compromise meaning we're going to come up with a solution that works for both of us. And then there's the definition of compromise that means something's been broken. And And in this case, we don't want that relationship to be broken. Going back, looking at chat here, Lemmy mentioned earlier something that you need in the long term, long lasting relationship is laughter. That's, to me, Lemmy, that's a non negotiable. I absolutely have to have humor and laughter in a relationship. If a relationship's going to sustain itself, I agree. You have to have laughter and humor. And without that, I don't really see that a relationship can succeed personally. Um, so, uh, Shenna said, I agree that it's not so much about they have to mark or check all these boxes, but they better not hit certain others. That's a good point.
Yep.
And Loki used to date city girls, but never again. So Loki, it's no city girls for you. Okay. Hey, Mike Carhole, welcome, welcome.
Hey, Mike.
Shanna said they have to also be self-aware. I think that's a really good point too. That when we're in a relationship, that one of the things that makes that relationship work is that people are not only aware of what the other person is doing and how they are in the relationship, but if we're self-aware, and that actually is what will help as we're getting ready to talk more in a little bit about compromises. I'm just looking to see if anybody else has
Yep.
joined here as well. So, oh, you could be a Ken doll, Lenny. Let me.
After what I said, that if Tim ever thought about it, I would neuter him and send him to the new woman,
Oh,
and that's what he did. His wife would make him a Ken doll too.
oh. So
So
we have to be a Ken doll. Okay.
I'm
Uh,
willing to compromise on time, especially
yeah.
the longer we go. I've noticed that compromising, like when Tim first got on YouTube, at first it used to irk the hell that he was dead. And then I started to real I see he would show me, like on the days I didn't have the baby, what he was doing. And I was fine. I was spending all my time with the grandbaby. So, I was willing to compromise. Or when he goes golfing on a Sunday when I'd rather us go for a ride or something. You know what? I'll compromise. You go play golf and then we'll go for our ride later. We don't have a time constraint.
Right. Right. That's a good point. And yeah, I mean, I think, hey, MMC, I think it's important that we honor, that people will have things
Okay, how
that
do
they
you
want.
see MMC? I don't see MMC.
Oh, I thought I did. Yeah,
I'm like,
he 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 popped
oh,
in
there he
here.
is.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
MMC.
yeah.
I was like, I can't let him pop in without saying hi. So,
Um,
wow, he was hidden.
I think it's important that we do honor the fact that, and I think that's part of the healthy relationship, that one of the negotiables in a relationship be time. I think that each partner recognize that time together, spent together, is really, really important, and that time apart is important too. We each came into this relationship probably having similar interests. That's part of what attracted us to each other's, that we had some similar things that we enjoyed. But then there were probably also other things that we each did that the other didn't do. Um, for example, my boyfriend scuba dives. He hasn't done it in a while, but he and his daughter scuba dive. I don't dive. I snorkel, but I don't dive. So that might be something that they do independently or they do together that I wouldn't do. Um, I do some things that he doesn't do. So it's important and healthy that people keep their own activities in addition to things that they also do together. Um, I'm a writer. He's not a writer, so I'm going to be spending some time doing things on my writing or interacting with my writing clients, that would take some time away from him. But then again, we still have a lot of our time and our similar interests and things that we do together. There are things that he was doing before I met him that I've started to do as a result of being in our relationship together, things that I wasn't doing before. So I think it's important that, that we honor each other and each other's activities, or that any couple does, and that you also honor the activities and the time that you spend apart, and that's fine. Mike's Carl, I just happened to look up and see tranny fluid, and I'm going to try so hard not to choke on this because I'm thinking that you're referencing Bud Light. So I'm about.
No, you know how chemo works in a factory, work building transmission. So they talk about the trainees.
I know, but they were also referencing drinking
Well,
beer and Bud
yeah.
Light.
Oh,
So
that's yeah. Okay,
with the
you're
new
right.
controversy, so I'm going to try so hard to just not
I got
die
it. Yeah,
laughing here.
but we don't want to
So
get our stream shut down.
I know. So anyway, I'm just yeah, and there's a good point, Shannon, that if you did have similar hobbies and interests, they might change. You might be willing to share the new ones with each other, which is kind of what he and I were doing. I'm learning some things, but also allowing each other to, continue to do whatever your previous hobbies were. So, looking at the negotiables, again, time that you spend with each other, the types of things that you do together, um, the amount of time that you spend together. I see here that some people are saying that maybe the amount of time that you spend together or your priorities may have changed when kids were born.
Yep.
Um, Mike Scarhill said that his life changed when his son was born.
See, mine was is with the kids when they were little. Him always knew that I needed 1 hour to myself at night because I did everything with him in the field, being deployed. His career, anything that was his in his time is. I only asked for 1 hour a night to get in the bath and read. That was my time. Now it never
Yeah.
happened. My kids always seemed to want me or need me and not daddy when I every time it was my time. But that was my only non-negotiable at that point for my time. The rest of the time, I'm a wife and a mom and a friend, and anybody can have me. But that 1 hour for that bath.
Yeah. Yeah. And Mike's saying yeah, his wife did the same, that she could care less about cars before marrying him, and now she'll go to car shows without him. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting that sometimes we'll start to assume interest in the other's hobbies. Maybe not. There are um, there are things we might pick up because the other person is interested in them. Um, Maybe we'll keep our own interest. What you're talking about, Lori, I think is really important, that you communicate, and this is one of the negotiables with a partner, is what you need in terms of your time, especially with kids or with grandkids, because that can change the nature of a relationship. And that's one of those compromises we'll talk about in a little bit. Um, you come home, if you've had all of your time with the kids, you're saying, I need an hour. I need an hour by myself to decompress. Um, somebody's been at the office all day, you've been with the kids, you need an hour to just go, Calgon, take me away. And so I think this also goes back to what you said earlier about how needs change through the life of a relationship too. That
Yep.
right, you don't have kids at home, but let's say you have a weekend with Jackson. You've got your grandson. So then maybe when the weekend's over, you might need your hour or something alone then too. Or maybe Tim needs some time, because you've had Jackson for the weekend.
Yeah. Our compromise is that he has his Friday show with Mikey D when Jackson's here on his weekends. That's it, and we try to stay off. Now, is that possible all the time when people are being dragged and you know how this stuff goes? So, but for the most part, if like Tim's with Jackson, I'll check in to, pop in, show support here or there. And then if I'm doing something one on one because Jackson wants to be with me, Tim does that. So
Yeah.
we've had to, that's our compromises. And, we just, they change too. Let's not forget the older you get and the longer you're in a relationship, you realize your compromises are going to change because you're both growing and your likes are going to change. Your dislikes are going to change. Hey,
Yeah.
Joe, welcome.
Yeah. Hey, Joe. Yeah, Lemmy said time with family is a must. And I think that's important, is again, sharing I like this. He said he'd rather lose money from working than miss any family time. That really says a lot, Lemmy. Hey, Jacksonville Joe. There are certain things, and this is something else to consider when you're looking at negotiables and non-negotiables, and when you're looking at compromises. What can you get back, and what can you not get back? What can be replaced, and what can't? Time is one of those things we can't get back. Once it's gone, it's gone. And that includes time with the special people in our lives. We can probably get back. We can look at a replay of a movie. We can look at a replay of a TV show. We can listen to that music later. We can read that book later. We can maybe go for that drive another time, whatever. But can we get back the time that we could have spent with that family member, with that child, with that grandchild, with our significant other? Maybe, maybe not. So I think it's important when we're looking at negotiables and non negotiables to look at how we spend our time, who we spend it with, and what we spend it doing. Those are some of the things that I'm looking at more in my life, particularly as we get older. Now, that's just me. But non negotiables and negotiables have a lot to do with what we value in life. Let me just said money isn't important, it can always be made. And, sometimes that's really, really true. Um, I'm starting to value more how I spend my time, who I spend it with. And this may sound kind of selfish, but one of the things I'll ask you to consider is how are you valuing yourself in all of this? Are you making yourself a negotiable or a non negotiable? And by that, what I mean is, and not meaning to make this sound stuck up, okay? But if you make yourself a negotiable in a relationship, you're you're making yourself less valuable in a relationship. Um, I refuse to be a negotiable in a relationship. And the reason for that is if I'm saying, is technically I'm then saying I'm not valuable in a relationship. If I'm negotiable, if I'm always negotiable in a relationship. Now, that doesn't mean I always have to be first. What I'm saying is when we enter into a relationship with somebody, we should both be valuable in that relationship as partners to each other. We shouldn't be each other's negotiable. If you find that you are being the negotiable all the time in a relationship or much of the time, then I think that's when, as partners, you need to sit down and say, what's happening here? We seem to be negotiating each other out of our relationship. What are our priorities? We should be
Yep.
non-negotiables in each other's relationships. What's coming in the way of our relationship? Is it job? Is it family members? Is it other people? Why are we not each other's non-negotiable?
For some, I've noticed is YouTube. There's
Yes,
people that'll admit they're having marriage problems. Well, then to me, if I was having marriage problems, it's time to set YouTube aside and concentrate on us.
right. And what Shannon just said, you have to evolve together, or there'll come a point where you have nothing to share and enjoy together.
Yep.
Is YouTube getting in the way? Is family getting in the? And when I say family, I mean either other family members or other
Friends. Yep.
priorities. Are friends getting in the way? Are
Answer.
are other obligations getting in the way? Is work getting in the way?
You know
Are
how I
we?
look at it, Mel? Is when you start off when you first get married, you're on the same path, right? You're both hand in hand, you're going merrily down your path. And then of course you're going to come up across that those little hills. Then you're going to have that giant mountain that you're going to have to overcome and if you get through it, you get to go down and life is not a smooth path. There's going to
No.
be pit. So and as you get older and you're going to see your tastes change and your careers change, your kids grow, there's your life changes. So there's ways that you could be splintered and both of you start heading off onto different paths. That's why I used to think why people who have been married over 20 years get a divorce after everything they have. Well, it's easy. They let those splits and those different paths, they spent 20 years raising a family. Now they're each they don't have that. So one gets absorbed this way, one. All right, so make sure, even though you have those little paths that you walk down, it always leads back to the main road that you
Right.
continue on together.
Right. And I think that's true not only of married couples, but dating couples or committed couples,
Friends.
partnered
Yep.
couples, friends. I think that, never lose sight of really what brought you together in the first place. Something brought you together as a couple. You saw something in each other as a couple, and you grew together as a couple. So what is it that made you grow together as a couple, and why are you letting things separate you as a couple? Doesn't matter if you're partnered or dating or married. What is it that, why are you letting things fracture you as a couple? Jacksonville Joe said, time's the most valuable thing in life. You can't let, time we waste can't be replaced. You can lose money, make it again, but you can't, re-earn time. And I think sometimes it's easy for us to let things separate us and we forget how hard we work to get to the place we are. We forget, why did we come together in the first place? What did we see as valuable in each other in the first place? What brought us to this place that we said was non-negotiable to begin with? What did we value in each other and in ourselves? And so when I say keep yourself as a non-negotiable, don't allow yourself to be negotiated as less than. And that's something that I'm not willing to do. And again, particularly as I get older, if if for some reason I no longer hold value or worth to someone, I need to hold value or worth to myself and not allow that value or worth to be diminished. Um, if I see myself as less than, then that's a problem. And I'm not saying that as somebody like being stuck up. I hope people understand that. What I'm saying is
Finished.
I have to be worth enough to me that I know, do I stay or do I move on, and not allow myself to be seen as less than. I like what MMC is saying here. Dream, set goals together, long term and short term, support each other in reaching them. That's really key, MMC, that it's not just the long term, but it's what people want to reach in the short term. What do we want to reach today, this week, next week? What's something we'd like to do this summer? Sometimes we can't see real far in the future. Shoot, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But what's something that we'd like to accomplish this week or next week? You guys are killing it with some ideas here.
They are. And I do think
And,
Menace is right. You can't value anyone unless you value yourself. And your marriage never is going to get easier. It's actually going to get harder. But if it's not, it makes it worth it. If it was too easy, I think getting out of relationships is too easy.
oh my gosh, thank you.
They just give up and say, "Oh, okay. Hey, Citizen Z, how you doing?"
That really, that menacing. That's so true. Anything that's that easy isn't worth it. And I really like that. It's so easy to throw up your hand to say, throw up your hands and go, "Oh, that's it. I'm out of here. I can't do this anymore." Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's easy to just say I can't do this and to walk away. But I think the things in my life that I value the most are the things that I had to work the hardest for. The things that I've fought for. And if it's that easy to throw up your hands and walk away, then, well, maybe it didn't mean anything to begin with. I don't know. I like that, what Menacing said. I don't think you can value anyone unless you value yourself. And I think that's straight up facts. Straight up facts. So I like this, Lemmy. Trust in your partner. Female friends from school, trust is a huge factor. Yeah, absolutely. Trust is a huge factor. Kids getting older changes the dynamic. Yeah, I think when I think as we get older, as children get older, as grandchildren get older, just as the people around us get older, that's going to affect relationships. Um, Menacing said marriage and raising kids, two hardest jobs we'll ever have. I don't have children, so I have to defer to those of you who do. Um, Lori, you're pinging, aren't you, girl?
Yeah, and I can't. I've tried to mute it. I don't know how to set the settings where they quit. They're not involving me. It's like
Oh,
a group chat, and they could do
or
80 in seconds, and I've muted it. I don't know what to do, so I keep like really quick trying to do it, and but yeah,
yeah.
that's
Hey,
why I'm ignoring it. So I'm sorry if it's annoying to anybody. Mostly, I know the chat's used to it because even when I'm on theirs, their phones do it too. A lot of them are in these.
yeah.
So, but I don't
Hey,
want it
hey,
distracting you.
citizency. Yeah, taking care of family, YouTube can be escape.
Without the drama. But I've noticed that people, you make peace with one, and they're like, there's always going to be, but then people drag you into other stuff, and then to twist it and say it's all yours. And I'm sick of it. I
Yeah.
don't understand how grown people eat, and I'm even going to put my
Hey,
husband in that too. Grown men acting like middle schoolers because somebody said something about
I hear
something to
you.
some. It's got to
Hey, running
stop.
with scissors. Hey, running with scissors and Citizen Z. Yeah, Citizen Z. That's a good point. We we are all winging it out here. We're doing the best that we can, and I think kind of that's one of the keys of when we look at the whole negotiable, non-negotiable thing, and when we talk, maybe talk a little bit now about compromise. How do we reach compromise, one kind of compromise, without compromising ourselves, the other kind of compromise? How do we find middle ground in relationships without selling ourselves short? Oh, let's look at this quote first from Menacing. I like this. Your beliefs become your thoughts become your words, and your words become your actions. Yeah, that's a good quote. um, I used that a lot when I was working with clients because our belief system, our core beliefs, this is what we call in cognitive behavioral therapy. We operate off of a system of core beliefs. Our core beliefs are essential to who we are as people. And core beliefs come from generally how we're raised. It may involve our faith, if we have a faith or a sense of spirituality, whatever that means to you. Our core beliefs affect how we think. How we think affects what we say, and affects our feelings, and our feelings affect our actions. So our thoughts, feelings, and actions are all tied together. And if we look at that, that's kind of who we are as a person. I'm going to act. What I do as a person is based on how I feel, and how I feel is often based on what I think. If we change any one of those three things, it's going to change how we are as a person. And sometimes how I behave will change if I look at things differently. Maybe instead of me saying something sharp and reactionary, if I look at it a little bit differently, it'll soften my approach. So, hey, Jack. So, so
Hey,
this whole
Naughty and Jack.
so this whole thing about, if we look at our belief system, if we look at our core beliefs, and what we feel deep down inside, that affects our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. And that's going to tie in with compromises. Hey, Naughty, how we make compromises in life. Have any of you had to make some compromises in relationships?
Yeah, if you wanted to work, everybody better.
Have any of you had to make any compromises this week or today? I know.
Even
I know.
what you do for dinner. Like if somebody's like, "Well, what do you want for dinner?" I mean, and if somebody likes something that you don't want, you compromise and say, "All right, well then I'll go ahead and eat or two. Let me do this." So I
I
think
know.
every day is compromise in order to.
I think compromise is pretty much on the daily for a lot
Yep.
of, isn't it? Miss
And it
Lexus.
rotates too. It one day it could be you compromising, and the next day the other one. I mean, it is a give and take too. So if anybody is only doing the only compromising, you're in the wrong relationship. It's got to be a two-way street.
Miss Lex said, too freaking many. Not
Naughty. I bet
naughty.
you compromise,
You know it,
yo,
naughty.
teddy
No
bear.
compromise. If my spouse don't like me, she knows where the door is. I don't believe that, naughty. I don't believe it for a second. Yeah, compromise. Now, the one thing I would caution people not to compromise is their values and their sense of worth. If you feel that you're having to make all the compromises, if you're the only one having to make the compromises, like Lori said, then that's not what we mean. Yep, Mike, you're right. You can't soar with eagles while nesting with the turkeys. Doesn't work that way. If you're always the one giving in, there's a difference between compromising and giving in. Total difference. And sometimes we do have to give in. Sometimes we have to kind of know what was that old Kenny Rogers song, The Gambler? Know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em. So sometimes you have to know when to stand your ground, and sometimes you have to know when to go, you know what? Okay, let's do it your way. But sometimes you do. You have to stand your ground. The idea behind compromise, though, is that each person gives a little, and that you each win a little. So nobody loses completely, and nobody wins completely. Oh no, Jacksonville Joe, Holly's getting into your snack box. So you compromise by getting a lockbox and you're capping the snacks. Okay, well, she gets the fancy snacks. Okay, I guess that's a compromise. Now, Menacing says that compromises a lot, but it's a blessing that your wife compromises too. Okay, so there's a good example. You both allow each other time to do the things you enjoy. Once a month, you have all night date at a hotel. That sounds like a pretty good compromise. Just saying. Once a month, all night date at a hotel. I like that. Menacing saying, I lost it here. I'm going back and trying to read chat. 2 kids, and adopted 5, so it's a busy house. Yeah, that would be a busy house. So once a month, all night in a hotel, that's an awesome compromise. Lori, what have you and Triple T compromised on? What have you and Tim compromised on?
I was muted the whole time trying to talk along with you. Like, hey, Chris, DG, how's it going? Hey, Chris, thanks for
I thought
stopping
I
by.
didn't.
I was trying to tell you what Menacing was saying, and I was sitting here talking, and I happened to glance down. The dogs were barking, went to mute it for a second. Like, damn. Because they were barking for a minute, I muted and didn't. Our compromises, oh man, even on the daily, it could be from where we're going to go, uh, something little like how long, like because we both have shows, like how long he's going to go on versus, compromises like I've had to make, and not just me, but if I have a show like you, if he's got a great crowd, do we compromise and hold off ours so that he can and then do it so we don't? I mean, there's little stuff all the time. The big compromises we've pretty much established after 26 years. We both are pretty set on what are negotiable, what aren't, where we stand that way. But it's always the little things like what's for dinner,
Yeah.
where we're going to eat, where we're going to go. Uh, who's going to take the dogs to the vet, or the little stuff we haven't. I mean, once you got that long, sometimes and no kids in the house or anything anymore, the it's just the little stuff now that can
Yeah.
also lead to big problems. People don't realize little compromises that aren't met or give or takes, they can blow up into be big stuff that you had in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Christy. Hey, Chris. Yeah, that's a good point. Compromises can be little ones too. Somebody
Yep.
who was saying it earlier. MMC was saying chicken or fish, chicken or fish. Compromise will have chicken of the sea. I love that, MMC. I'm so glad you're here. That's funny because believe it or not, when was counseling couples, sometimes they would say their biggest arguments started over what's for dinner. And it's like, well,
Yes.
I don't know what I'm going to make for dinner. What do you want for dinner? I don't know. You can't make any decisions about dinner. If you can't even make a decision about dinner, how are we going to make a decision about anything in life? And I'm not teasing you folks. They would come in not talking to each other, and it all started over what's for dinner. I was like, really, people? And they're like, this is the story of our lives. If he could just once tell me what he wants for dinner. So Lori, I feel you. It's like
Yep. That is the biggest problem.
words.
I think I didn't realize how many couples actually go through this. Even my girlfriends, we had girls' night out the other night, and it was still like, well, where do we go? I can't believe that after all these years, because we all know me and Tim know what we like from each restaurant. You know, creatures of habit as so well. But I could not believe that we are not the only couple. And even in the chat, I'm saying it too, that is seems to be a universal compromise that every couple has to go through.
Loki says he can compromise unless she wants to feed him tofu, then he's gone. Yeah, Jacksonville Joe, you're right. Or where do you want to go to eat? It's like, I don't know, let's go to this place. I don't know. Well, we ate there last time. Fortunately, my boyfriend and I don't have that problems, but yeah, it's these little things sometimes that tend to blow up into really big things. And the first couple of times I first encountered this as a counselor, I really literally, I know I sat there and probably looked like a deer in the headlights because I was thinking to myself, this can't be real. They can't really be fighting about where to go for dinner. And the more I encountered this, the more I was like, holy crap, they've really been fighting about where to go for dinner. And I don't know. Y'all are cracking me up in chat because this really is a thing, and you understand it. You
Yep.
really understand it.
It's even with everybody in here. Everybody seems to have the what's for dinner. That seems to be the issue for every couple up here.
I love this. Menacing says, when she asks me what I want for dinner and I say something and she says, I don't want that, then why the F
Yep.
did you ask me?
Tim will do that. So what I'll do is if I'm not sure and he's asking me, I'll just name 4 places that I could eat and I'll tell him, all right. And he'll be like, well, I don't want that one, that one, or that one, or that one. I said, well, you just asked me. So I'll say something else. And I was like, all right, out of these 4, pick 2 that you definitely won't eat. Okay,
Ah,
now out of these 2, which one will you take? But that is the biggest headache and compromise me and him have to go through on a nightly basis.
I like Mike's Carhol's answer is like he always says, I'll take you to your favorite restaurant, and whatever she says is where we go. Mike, that's a good compromise. That's a good one. Jacksonville Joe says, I'd be like, Waffle House.
Uh,
Actually, I haven't been to Waffle House in a while. I wouldn't mind going to Waffle House. I like Waffle
yeah,
House.
it
You know,
has its purposes, and I know people put it down as a greasy spoon, but you know what? Sometimes you got to have that greasy spoon.
Yeah, in fact, Jacksonville Joe, the Trevor Lawrence here after one of their wins took a bunch of his boys on the team who had never been to Waffle House to a local Waffle House, so it gained new notoriety around here. So, um, Lemmy says he had never been a cook, coming out of his comfort zone since he's been watching Lori cooking, and now he's cooking for his wife. Way to go, Lemmy, and way to go, Lori. You're influencing Lemmy's cooking.
He actually has done my the cornbread, the fried potatoes in the oven without all that, using all that oil and stuff, that fattening, and then made him another night in a row. And I know he was thinking about doing the lasagna, but I think it was the beef noodles that he actually had done.
Oh,
But
that's
yeah,
really cool.
most people say, "Oh, I'm going to make it." Well, he literally will go and make it and then let me know. So
Oh
yeah.
my gosh. And Menacing's wife makes three different dinners a night. Oh, she's a saint. She's a saint.
Oh wow.
Oh my
See, we
goodness.
always say, I always taught my kids from the beginning, you'll eat what I make. If not, then you'll go hungry and you're not going to get a snack. But
MMC says the things, let's see, food, money and bills, kids, sex, whether there's enough or not sex, are the biggest fight starters. Yeah, when
yep,
you look at things that need to probably be compromised on in relationships or the things that come up, yeah, food, the things that most couples would or the biggest fight starters or things that couples often would need to look at compromising generally would be things like finances, kids, sex.
yep,
Those are
three big ones.
typical big ones: finances, kids, and sex.
But what's funny about all that is I remember being newly married and he had his two, I had my two, and we were building our family together. And our arguments or our fights would always be, those three. And then Tim would be like, um, he would say something. He's like, "Well, it's only this." I said, "Okay, so when we get to a point where we don't have to worry about money, you're going to find something else." "No, I won't. No, I won't. It's only going to be, it's because of the kids and this and that." Yeah, I was able to prove him wrong 20 years later. Like, okay, so now why are we fighting about this? Well, that was never, yes, exactly. Because I told you there's always something. Because if you got to compromise, always.
There will always be something to compromise on. I don't, you know, I've known couples who have been married for 30, 40 years or more, and they still find things to compromise on. And it goes back, Lori, to what you were saying and what people in chat have said. It doesn't matter how long someone dates, how long they've been married, relationships evolve. And as we age, as relationships evolve, there's always something that's going to be there that will require compromise, whether it involves time, whether it involves money, whether it involves energy. um, we as people, as we grow older, our health changes, our financial situation may change, the amount of time we want to invest in something may change. So anytime you're looking at physical health, energy, money, time, you're pretty much looking at things that might require some compromise. I think unless somebody is just so set in their ways and they're just going to be a stick in the mud and they're never going to be open to compromise, if that's the case, then I don't want to have anything to do with them. Um, you have to be open to change. This world is not static. It's not set on 12 and it's never going to change from 12. Everything changes in this world daily. Look at gas prices. My boyfriend and I were talking just yesterday. I'm like, when did gas prices jump 30 cents a
Even
gallon?
friendships and truces and who likes, I mean,
Right.
yeah,
Wouldn't first of all, wouldn't life be boring if it was just the same every day? So if life is going to be a barometer, that changes every day, we can't expect that there are never going to be reasons for change or for compromise. We just can't. And if we think we're just going to drive in our own lane and we're never going to have to change lanes or we're never going to have to make any changes, I, I think then we're going to have to just go to a nunnery or a monastery
yep,
because the other thing is life's going to be pretty boring.
oh
Um,
yeah.
I
Z's
like,
right. There are curveballs, and they can be fun if you roll with it.
well, I was just going to say, I think if we are willing to accept change and compromise, we'll actually find that life can be more fun and exciting. Otherwise, it's going to be pretty damn boring.
Yep.
So, if you want a boring life, okay, then you'll probably wind up alone and just doing the same damn thing every day. And I'm not willing to roll over and roll up the sidewalks and say my life is over. And I'm the grandma of the group. So, I like that this group is the people that, whether they've just been dating or married for years, that that you're willing to go through changes and compromises. MTP, I like that. He says we argue a lot, but we have a rule that we'll never argue publicly. There's just a look that we give each other, when we're in public. I don't know what that look is, but evidently it works.
Yeah. And see, sometimes what people don't understand, I find it funny. Like there are times where I will interrupt him in the middle of something on YouTube, and you can see that he'll be like he'll snap. We're not the only couple on YouTube that is snapped. The problem is people who have a problem with that or think something negative about it is because they usually don't have a spouse, and they don't understand that there's always going to be a time that that other person does get on your nerves, and you are going to snap. It doesn't mean that that's how their marriage is or their life goes, but those are the things that you got to roll with. You know what I mean? And people change. And you also got to respect the boundaries of other people too. And yeah, I do bug Tim on. People will text me and say, "Hey, tell Tim this," and I'll go out there thinking I'm doing something, and he's in the middle of something. So, yeah, you know, you
Yeah.
have to be able to roll with the little things. Hey, Jesse.
Yeah, they're gonna like Citizen Z says that there are gonna be curveballs. Sometimes they can be fun. Sometimes we do need to be spontaneous. We need to go with the punches. And life is what it is. Lemmy says, I enjoy buying naughty things for the wife spontaneously.
Well, if she's willing to wear them, then more power to you.
There you
Naughty.
go.
Yeah.
And I like what Citizen Z just said. It makes you look at things with a different perspective. People who stuck in their ways usually die alone. Menacing, that's true. We kind of have to be willing to roll with the punches and go with the flow, or else we're going to die alone, just stuck as a result of our own unwillingness to change. And the whole idea behind compromises is that we each give a little. And somebody said, well, it means meeting in the middle. Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes maybe I need to give 75% and the other person gives 25%. Or maybe that's reversed. Ideally, it would be nice if it's 50-50. And that's
Yeah.
kind of our goal on compromises is to be 50-50. So
But
that
hasn't
no,
there been times even for you, Mel, that sometimes in a relationship you do sometimes you do 80 or 90%, but as long as on another time your partner, it balances it out.
there's the key. And I'm glad you brought that up. There's the key is that there has to be balance, because if I find that I'm giving too much in compromises, or if anybody does, then that can lead to resentment. If somebody feels like they're making all the compromise, um, if I feel like I'm the one
Shh,
who's
come here.
doing more or doing too much, or if the other person feels like they're doing more or doing too much, then at some point it's gonna breed resentment. So the key in compromise needs to be as much as possible that, and it goes back to what was said very early on. Let's use the C word. Um, no, don't go there, folks. Let's use the C word.
The bad C word in a
Yeah,
relationship.
yeah, yeah, no, yeah. Let's use the C
Compromise.
word. Let's use the C word. Yeah, there's a lot of C words in relationships.
Yep.
Communication,
Yep.
communication. Let's use that communication word, and let's really talk about what it is we need to compromise on. And I think sometimes people hear the word compromise and they go, "Oh no, it's going to be awful." No, it's not. You just need
Nope.
to talk it over a little bit. Sometimes people hear the words, let's talk about it, and they go, oh my God, we're going to talk about it forever. No, no,
Some
just,
people hear the word "let's talk" and all of a sudden they're like they start to tune you out right off the bat, thinking it's going to be something it's not.
yeah. And actually, if they would do more of the talking themselves, they might find that it's not as bad as they think. I can't listen if somebody else isn't talking. And I'm liable to do less talking if somebody else is doing more talking. So,
Huh,
that's those are some little nuggets that I like to throw out there because I tend to talk a lot and I know that.
I
But
do too,
I can
and I'm
do a
bossy.
I can do a whole lot more listening if somebody else is talking. So, that's one way to work on compromise as well. That if somebody says let's talk, okay, then it gives the other person the opportunity to jump in there and start talking. So, you know,
Yep.
don't don't take let's talk as being one of those things where you're going to be talked
Shh.
to. Jump in there and do the talking. So,
I
what are
swear
some
this dog.
compromises some of the people in chat have made? It can be big or small. What are some compromises? I like that menacing game plan is to both give a little to one day you've reached the middle. I like that.
Yep. I told him that even our last raffle, we had actually more donated tickets than for bought for themselves, and we've already started. And yeah, it's amazing.
Mm. So what are some successful compromises you guys have made? Didn't buy a fifth and just got a pint. Hey, well, that's a compromise.
So I guess nobody's compromised in the last few days.
Has anybody done big compromises, small compromises? Was there ever a compromise that worked out better than you thought it would?
Nope. I was asked to do something I didn't want to do and went so that they didn't have to. And when I did it, they still did it and it backfired. And I was like, I'm tired of this.
Oh, I can honestly say that there are very few times I've compromised that it backfired or that it didn't work. I will say though that there are times that I felt like I was not recently, but there have been times in my life where I felt like I did too much compromising in my life.
Yep.
So I've tried to be more cautious about that. I've tried to be careful that I'm not doing all the compromising in relationships because I had a habit of over compromising in the past.
Because you're more of a giver.
Yeah, that's kind of always been my nature. So I've been the one to kind of jump in and make more compromises, and I've had to be careful not to do that.
I think for like me and Tim, I know people are going to think this is weird. We're both takers, but we're both givers. We're both two sides of the same coin because we both, but I've learned I could be, as I'm getting older, more level headed and trying to look at things where he seems to be getting more hot headed. So there's where our compromisings are going to have to come in now as later in our relationship. That in the beginning, we were the same, exact, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Menacing says one of the big ones that's really improved is that when she asked him to stop instantly reacting to other people's opinions, and he's always been the type of person who doesn't walk away. Wow, that's huge, Menacing.
That's what
That's
we're going on right now. So that is weird because I'm trying to, that's where I'm at with Tim. But you guys been married. I don't know if you've been married as long as me and Tim Menace, but I'm agree. I'm at that same is that he's reactive. I'm wanting him to learn to be less reactive, just a little bit, and not just go right for the throat, you know, in different circumstances. And some I agree 100%. So trying to compromise.
that's really awesome. Being able to assess the situation instead of instantly being reactive has changed the outcome for you. That's huge. Hey,
Yeah.
Holly. That's huge because
Kata.
I think particularly and I don't want to sound sexist or stereotyping, so please guys hear me out on this. I think sometimes for some men, um, it's it has, I don't want to say it's been easier. I think our society has kind of stereotyped it where for some men being reactive has been the pattern. And so to change that pattern of stopping that reactivity and not instantly reacting and making that change has been hard. And for you to stop that and for you to assess before you react is huge. And I really give you kudos for that. I think sometimes society expects men to be reactive. Um,
Yep.
historically, I think men in our society, just in Western society, have been rewarded for being activity, for being reactive. That's kind of that macho man image. So that's really awesome. So that's a compromise that has worked for you.
I agree because I'm mixed. I know a lot of people they don't realize it because I am lighter, but I am mixed. And so are my other not Jackson, but my other grandsons are. Well, Jackson is too because I am not as, but my son, my granddaughter, or my daughter-in-law is a beautiful Black woman who is married to my son and gave me three beautiful grandsons. So yeah, me and Tim, yeah, that's how we are too. But
That's
Tim grew up in that where I mean, he had a grandmother that was taught the men that they would be men. They have to go out. They're going to be, and I think sometimes in the older generation, 30 and above, well, I want to say 40 and above, the men just believe that you have to be in this mindset of war and attack if somebody says something, or you think it can damage who you are, but it can. It's just a word. So I like when people are learning to not be as reactive. That's an amazing compromise, Menace.
oh, hey Ginger, hey Nightmare. Yeah, and I think particularly in this society and in this day, being reactive has really high consequences uh,
Yep.
for people, both in terms of if people are in each other's physical presence as well as on in social media. And so the more we can help each other to not be so immediately reactive, the better. And what I also think people don't realize, but they will start to feel over time, is it can take a lot out of us personally. It can really start to wear down somebody's physical, mental, and emotional health when we're reactive over a period of time. And what happens is when we're reactive, we might immediately feel a sense of relief in a good way, but over a period of time it starts to drain somebody. So not being so reactive, and being able to handle things differently is a really great compromise that you've made. So Meg says after 30 years of marriage we've switched gears on the reaction roles. He'd be the first to react, and now you're the one that flips out. Oh, Kata, thank you. Well, I appreciate your vote of confidence.
Oh,
I
Kata,
hope
thank
I
you.
I hope that Lori and I share some things on the show that are helpful, but actually you guys are the ones that are awesome because you're coming up with all of this stuff.
Yes, you guys make it. I'll tell you, one week, me and Mel, to be honest, we were trying to figure out our topic for our next show, and the chat just led us right to our very next show.
They always do.
They do.
Loki, you're right. Nature demands men to be reactive, and sometimes it's hard to assess the situation. And you're right. Just the physiology of men, how men and women are built, the testosterone in men, and everything else has given men a somewhat unfair advantage or disadvantage sometimes in terms of that reactivity.
Hi,
So,
Amy.
so you're right. And then menacing says that men's then sometimes live in this persona of they have to be tough. That's where I think society has kind of let men down. and particularly in relationships when it comes to the art of compromise, men don't sometimes see that they don't always have to be tough. They don't always see that they don't have to they don't always see that it's okay to let their guard down. They don't always see that it's okay to show their full range of emotions. That
But see,
that
society demands it, but then they call
Yeah,
them sissy men. So it's a catch
right.
22. So as long as they're who they are and they're confident in their skin, that's to me, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, our avatars aren't showing, guys. We're sorry. We don't
Oh,
understand why they're not. I was told we got two white boxes. So yeah, I don't
oh,
understand.
that's a YouTube thing. We're sorry because we were there earlier.
Yep.
Very, very sorry. Citizen Z, oh, I just lost what I was going to say in response because Citizen Z just said something really
About men having to be in
profound.
society to be
Yes.
they're thought to be macho.
Yes. And then about waiting a few seconds before you respond to anything. That's it's I'll tell you something funny. Years ago I was doing a an anger management group with a bunch of kids. There were sixth graders, so they would probably be about, I don't know, 11, 12 years old. And one kid raised his hand about something he had learned, in terms of anger management. And he said, I learned to always count to 10 when I'm angry. And I said, oh, how does that help you? And he said, well, it doesn't do anything for me, but it gives the other kid a head start. And I had all I could do to keep from busting out laughing. But I guess if it works, it works, right? It gave the other kid a head start.
Hey
Um,
Mel, I changed my took off my picture and put it back and it came on, they said. So I don't know if you should click on your box and hit your avatar again and see if it comes up.
oh, okay. I'll try that in a second. Um,
Yeah.
but the other thing, going back to what Menacing said, is that you don't always have to be tough. You can be protective without being tough. Another thing for men is that men can be gentle as well. Men have a right to feel their full range of emotions and not to be made to feel less than. Um, I think one of the most endearing things that any man can do is cry in front of me. I don't see that as a weakness. I see that as a strength. For a man to be sensitive and show their sensitive side, I don't know when I've ever loved a man more than when that's happened. Um,
See, I like it vulnerability at times when
yeah,
it is needed, but not, I don't need it so much that even when they're watching a movie, tears are running down their eyes. But I want them to show that they are human and that they are, um, I want to feel what they're saying to me. I don't
yeah,
need so much to say tears and stuff, but when somebody's looking at me and they say that how they feel about me, I need to actually be able to feel the words, not the words themselves. If
yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, not be afraid to demonstrate that, to have emotional depth, to have the capacity for empathy, to have the capacity for compassion, to not be afraid to feel what they feel. I I think sometimes that emotional restriction is not fair. Hey, Amy Lynn. Um, so menacing. Oh my gosh, I'm blushing. You can't see it because I'm a white blob, but you're part of this dynamic duo. You guys are making it awesome. Um, so tell us some ways that you guys have compromised that have worked for you. It doesn't have to necessarily, but what are some ways you've compromised in relationships and it has worked? And while you're coming up with that, let's see what Amy Lim has here. My favorite saying a long time ago, the paradox of true love is when two beings become one and yet remain two. Amy Lynn, that's a true bond right there is when two people come together in a relationship, yet they still have their individual identities. that's key in a relationship. That's beautiful. So what are some compromises you've come to in relationships that really really worked? Big ones, little ones, whatever.
All right, I'm back. Sorry.
That's okay. I was just looking at Amy Lynn's here saying that you had highlighted here. I just think that that's so
Yep,
beautiful.
it
Um,
is. I've never heard
Citizen,
that before.
Citizen Z, I am 100% with you on this show, Straight Talk. Lori and I had said we are going to have real people, real conversations. We are going to have zero drama. And we have done this now for several months, and we have had real talk, real people, and zero drama. So that's what you're going to
Yep.
get on Straight Talk with us. So, what are some conversations that, not conversations, what are some compromises that you all have come to in your relationships that have worked for you guys?
I know mine with Tim is career. I know that he's always had goals set, and the compromise is the ones that are going to take a lot of time away will compromise. So I'll fill in where needed, as long as when he has that time, he gives back
Yeah,
and puts in 100% into like family time or me time with me to uh, uh, I will help him achieve all his dreams that he's doing and or wants to. But in return, when he's met those dreams, it's my time with him, or
yeah.
he backs mine up. And we've been lucky. It's been working.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I like what Amy said that she and Dan get along so well. They actually have conversations when they disagree. And I know you love him and I know he loves you. And I think the key there is that you have conversations. You talk to each other about it. Um, Jacksonville Joe saying 3 years of drama finally squashed. I won't go at anybody. He's enjoying the peace. He deleted Instagram and Facebook. Music reactions and comedy from time to time is all he's in for. And Jacksonville Joe, really kudos to you because I was talking to
Yep.
Lori earlier about this. I
Yep.
am I am really staying out of a lot of and this is for my piece, not with my relationship, but just for my piece. One of the things that I've done is because I started to get caught up in YouTube drama like months and months and months ago, totally out of something else. But I think part of what we have to do for our own sanity, and it also goes into compromises in relationships, is how you define and how you maintain your peace as an individual and your peace in a relationship. And and I think that that's really really important. For me, it's not getting caught up in other people's, I'll put this in quotes, stuff. And so I've had to pull back a lot in terms of like social media. And when I started dropping a lot of social media stuff, that was huge. And it was a discussion I actually had with my boyfriend because he noticed that it was affecting me a lot, as well. And he's not involved in a lot of the social media stuff, but he knew it was making me anxious. And so I did the same thing, Jacksonville Joe. I pulled out of a lot of that. Um, Amy, I like that you don't hold crap. You get it out of the way. You talk about it. You don't stay angry. That's awesome. Roadhog, hey, listening is great. We're just glad you're here. Um,
Yep.
men- Menacing, crying. There is no shame in that. If that's how you feel, then that's how it comes down. I'm so sorry about the loss of your nephew. No, you're not that. You Here's the real deal. Um, if you feel something, express it in a healthy manner. That's what I'm going to say about that. If you feel angry, express it in a healthy manner. If you feel sad, express it in a healthy manner. If you feel happy, express it in a healthy manner. As long as people are alive and feeling, express it in a healthy manner because there's going to be a day when you don't have that opportunity. Um, I woke up this morning. I'm glad I did. I get to be here with you guys. I may not have that opportunity tomorrow. So, hell's bells, I'm going to be thankful for the fact that I have today because I'm not promised tomorrow. Um, so, when we talk about negotiables and non negotiables and compromises, here's the reality whatever
Minute,
relationship,
Mel, will you read private check real fast? It's about the topic.
yeah. Um, yeah, we can do that. We can do that towards the end.
Okay, sounds
Um,
good.
so the reality is that um, if you're in a relationship, cherish it. If it's not the right relationship, get out of it. If it's broken, work on fixing it. This isn't rocket science, people. That's why we're talking about negotiables, non-negotiables, and compromise. If you entered into a relationship and you found that person interesting and you love that person and there's something salvageable, work on it. If it's not, go your separate ways. Life is just too freaking short. That's my take on it. I'm I'm like I said, I'm older than most of you. I love the person I'm with. However, again, life is too short. So as you go through life, you make constant reevaluations of am I where I want to be? Am I with who I want to be with? You know, is if I don't wake up tomorrow, will I have regrets? I don't want to have regrets. I don't want you guys to have regrets. So that's why we're talking today about compromises. What compromises can you make that will make your relationship better? How can you make things better? How can you make them better than they were today? How can you make somebody else's life better, your life better, so that you don't have regrets? And, I look at the chat and I go, this is the most awesome freaking group of people that I've talked to or been with in a really long time. And I know there are other people probably listening that aren't in chat, but I just appreciate that you guys are willing to come together with Lori and I on a Wednesday afternoon when you could be doing something else and hanging
Yep.
out with us
And
and
so
say,
close to dinner for a lot of
yeah,
people.
and saying the things that that you do. So I'm trying to look
Actually,
at.
we got a couple of people I haven't seen before in here. Like, looks like
Oh,
No Life Mike is in here, and
well,
Ricky Bobby made it.
Amy Lynn, it might have taken 41 years, but we're glad that you're finding your people.
Yep.
I'm trying to see some other compromises that have worked. Raising kids like we're on the same wavelength. That's
Mm,
huge.
especially like what's the discipline and what's is where you give in punishments, how you're going to take care of that.
Oh my gosh, MTP finally started picking up the toilet seat. Yay! Amy Lynn, I really like that. Basically, no judgment, trying to understand where the other person is coming from without bias. That's probably one of the hardest things any of us can do. That's a super hard compromise to make. And I love that. And I'm still working on that too. It's really, really hard. It's really hard because I can't sometimes I have trouble sometimes trying to see my own point of view, but I really try. And I love that you're saying that. Um, Citizen Z says worked a lot and had to compromise on that, and that you're glad that you did. It's hard sometimes trying to compromise on the hours that you're working and how much time that you're working. Hey, Ricky Bobby. The whole work thing can be a real sticking issue between couples. There's Daniel. Are you throwing Amy through windows again? Didn't we
Or
talk?
breaking up with her a couple times a day.
Didn't we talk about not throwing people through windows? Oh, one of my dogs just got funky. Sorry about that. Um, See, Meg said learning how to live alone after 20 some odd years of having kids at home. It's almost like you're dating again. Yeah, that's a huge, that's a good point. Life transition points. First, it's having kids, then it's not having kids at home. Sometimes for people, it's retirement, or it might be things like health changes, dealing with things like chronic pain or dealing with things like disease or illness. I was in a relationship years ago met someone who was in remission from cancer, and his cancer came back. And I can remember people asking me if I was going to leave him. Why was I going to leave somebody that I loved because cancer came back? Maybe somebody else would have, but that wasn't me. So there can be a lot of compromises that have to be made when you're going through life transitions, retirement, changes in health, changes in financial status. So a lot of compromises may still be down the pike for people. May yet to come. Maybe yet to come. Amy says that you're trying to take care of your health better so you can be there for one another. Super, super important, Amy. And I can tell you that just because that's something that we're going through now in my relationship. Uh-oh, I'm contagious, menacing. Oh, my vibe is contagious.
It
Okay.
is. I knew I couldn't do this show without her when it popped into my head after we had a late night with Mel up on the panel. We had such a chemistry and a vibe on this kind of stuff that when it popped into my head, I went right to her. And it took us a little slow getting started because she was really sick. And I understood that. And there was nobody else that I was going to, though Meg did an amazing job filling in for you that one day, I have to
She
say.
did. She
So,
did. But thank you, MTP. I really appreciate that. And likewise to Lori. It's a give and take here. We ping and bounce off of each other to do this show and off of the chat. So, oh, Amy, no kids, and she's got baby fever. Watch out, Dan.
oh, he's with it with her.
Oh,
That's their compromise because he already has children that are older. And because of his love for Amy, that is their compromise. He's willing to have a baby with her.
that is so awesome. Okay, well, we'll be waiting for like the big announcement. And let's see, let me say, starting to enjoy this, just me and her again. Feel like a horny teen chasing around the house, plus getting to do things we couldn't with the kids react. That's true. See, these are two perfect examples about these life changes, and they don't necessarily have to be bad. Once
No.
kids leave the house and you have this kind of empty nest syndrome, I mean, that's when you can run around naked and do all the things you couldn't do before.
Well, you know which how we
They-
looked at it is when you first got to get for us, we already had kids and they were young. So when we got together, that's all we knew. We dated without the kids because I didn't introduce him to my children or him introduce me until we were serious, months after dating and stuff. So when we did get married, we were already parents as well, newlyweds. So we did have all those headaches. It wasn't just me and him getting to know each other. It was four kids in the mix too, with
oh,
different parenting styles. So it's a testament that we made it 26 years. I'll tell you that. There were lots of days, woo. But um, as we go, and then the kids started moving out and getting older and had cars and jobs, and they were gone. And now that they were out, for those few years before we were grandparents, we had to learn each other again as Lori and Tim, not as parents and the married couple who have kids, but we had to get to know who we were without those tags and that those oh the responsibilities that we had when we got together. We were now two different people now.
that's a good point. That's a good point. That it really, really is. MMC, you're cracking me up.
And that is new problems too, because now you're learning what you weren't able to see back when you did get together and were dating, when you were already, you know, two divorced people had already been in marriages that you got out of, and then kids. Now you have to learn to like each other with this new, who you're finding new interests when you can do new things that you couldn't do when you had kids.
Right, right. So here we go with, usually it's about this time in the show when the humor really starts to kick in. So now it looks like MMC, Citizen Z, we're all down to this. All right, what was the biggest decision of the day, to put on pants or not? Oh my God, you guys are cracking me up. Um, so yeah, here's the other thing in terms of compromising and as you go through these different stages of life. So the situation is that you start to see each other in a different light as you go through these life transitions. And now it's like, well, and some people will go, oh, woohoo, we're kid free now, woohoo. Well, you kind of sit there and you look at each other and go, well, what now? And it can be a wonderful time, and it should be a wonderful time, but you're right, you do have to kind of renegotiate, compromise, figure things out again, and start off in a little bit of a new direction. And I hope for most people it will be a wonderful time. Um, it's about learning about each other a little bit all over again, because now you're at a different point in life. You're not 20 years back or 15 years back or however long ago it was, but it can be a point of new discovery. So I hope that people will look at these life transitions as new opportunity. Lemmy's saying, I prefer the trench coat approach. Well, Lenny, whatever floats your boat, trench coat, no pants, that works. Um, so yeah, Lori, it's a good point. You guys hit a point with, okay, no kids. Your work situations had probably changed at that point too, right?
That, but then when he was retired for a few years, and then he wanted to go back to work. So in a way, that hasn't. The hours and everything are still normal like that. It's the off times now.
Right. Right.
So
So,
yeah,
and for me, now my boyfriend and I are both retired, but he has some family responsibilities. I don't have kids or grandkids, so it's a different on my end. But it still goes back to whatever type of relationship any of us are in. I think if we can clearly identify what's negotiable, what's non-negotiable, how we compromise, what we compromise on, you can make relationships work at any stage in life. You want to do what the chat's been talking about. You want to communicate. You want to be clear about what you're saying. You want to be clear about the messages that you're giving and that you're hearing. And you want to decide, how much do I compromise? What do I compromise on? And how do we work this out? Citizen Z says, I'm only 38. Me and my girlfriend are in the workflow time juggling contest. Yeah, it's a dance, isn't it, Citizen Z? But the main thing is you just keep working on it.
yep.
MMC says, after years on the road, both together and not, we finally get to be together and just enjoy each other. And MMC, you guys have been together, I think, what, 36 years?
No, they
30?
just got him and his wife got divorced after being married a long time, and now he's got a girlfriend. Oh,
Oh, okay.
MMC. No, no, no. They've been together. Yeah,
Yeah,
long time.
MMC. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I thought you said Z. I don't know why when you said MMC, I heard Z
Oh
because
no, I
Tim
I
opened the
jumped
door and I heard that. Yeah,
I
that
jumped
click.
around in the alphabet. I went from Z
Gotcha.
to MMC.
Z.
Lemmy, that's pretty cool. So
Yeah,
you
that's
say, and
sweet.
sometimes I'm difficult, would send her flowers at work saying, I'm sorry for being difficult. I'm going to try harder. You know what, Lemmy? We're all difficult at one time or another. I know I am.
Meg and
Every
MMC. Meg's got 32, I think, years, 32 years, and MMC's got 36 years.
Oh, okay. I was
So
right.
I'm still
36
young in
years.
marriage compared to those two at 26. So I know Roland's been married 26 years, going on 27 this year, too.
That's cool. We're all difficult at one time or another. The main thing is that we just recognize it and we keep doing the best we can. And for those of us where pants are optional, we just wake up each day and decide whether or not to put our pants on, right? For those
And
pants
I
feel like
can
they
tell those who are thinking about wondering about that question, will I walk around with or without my pants? Tim used to joke about that too, but every morning he still gets on and puts his pants on for some reason.
well,
Even when I tell him, look, nobody's around, because you never know if you have to run to the door or something happens. So,
well, regardless of whether you wear pants or not, just remember that we're all essentially the same. If you do put on pants, you still put them on one leg at a time, right? So
yep.
you guys are so fabulous. I
I
I don't
do have something to show that was sent to us by Menace that fits the conversation before we
yes. Yes, before we do
today.
that, I just want to thank everybody today for hanging with us. And yeah, Menace sent something that Lori's going to close out the show with. And I just want to, oh, Citizen Z, that's wonderful. 67 years. I want
Oh,
to thank I want to thank everybody for showing up today at chat. For those that are listening or watching, I'm sorry I turned into a white blob. We'll try to figure out the avatar. I may even actually put on makeup and do my hair next time and
hey,
actually like
Iron Horse.
show up on my laptop. Hey, Iron Horse. But anyway, we just want to thank you guys for showing up and being here with us. Thank you for the newcomers and for participating. Be back with us in 2 weeks for Straight Talk. And Lori's going to take us out here with something that Menacing sent us.
Yep,
And
on this song, Menace says that through the hard times, for this fits the topic that we were discussing today, and it has helped him and his wife through a lot of rough times. So after the song, the show will be ended. So I hope you enjoy it. And as Mel said, we appreciate each and every one of you, and we hope to see you back in 2 weeks. So let's get this going. Let's see. Let me hit play. Hold on. Tim, get her.
Is playing man of the house, feeling the doubt. I look
And
around,
everybody,
I look at myself. Don't disappoint, don't let them down. Don't mess this up and don't be afraid. Maybe I'm weak, maybe I'm weak. Maybe I am weak, maybe I am weak. Maybe I was never meant to be the man. Maybe I was wrong for thinking that I can. Maybe I don't wanna do this all again. Maybe I'm afraid of who I've always been. I got a lot on my plate. I can't escape my own head, my standards that I done set. Here I go again, here I go again, here I go again, here I go again. Don't disappoint, don't let them down. Don't mess this up, don't be afraid. Maybe I am weak, maybe I am weak, maybe I am weak. I think it is often. Living my life in a coffin, box of emotions, won't ever open, shaping and molding, constant erosion. No one will notice till the explosion. Enter a Trojan, came out of ocean, constant devotion. These are the rules of society chose them, and women promote them. They use it against us and say that we broken. They know of the problem, and still it's unspoken. Women are precious, men are protectors, and sorrow's infectious, leave us defenseless. The weight of the world is waiting to crush us, and we only trust us, and nobody gets it, nobody but us. They say don't suffer in silence, but who do we have to confide in? Maybe I was never meant to be the man. Maybe I was wrong for thinking that I can. Maybe I don't wanna do this all again. Maybe I'm afraid of who I've always been. I got a lot on my plate. I can't escape my own head, my standards that I done set. Here I go again, here I go again, here I go again, here I go again. Don't disappoint, don't let them down, don't mess mess this up. Don't be afraid. Maybe I am weak, maybe I am weak, maybe I am weak, maybe.
Well, that song actually has a amazing depth and insight to a lot of relationships right there.
It sure does.
Wow. Well, thank you, Minutes, for sending it to us, and tell Dragon that all nothing but respect. That was an amazing song. So on that night, don't forget, Late Night Crew tonight is on Loki's channel at 10:30 Central Time. We hope to see you guys there. Again, a no drama, all fun. You never know what you get with Late Night Crew, as everybody knows. The new raffle, not drawing, the new raffle has started. It's only $5 per ticket to my Cash App, because it was too much with all his work and everything. So it's running on the bottom. Winner does get to choose their gaming system plus $100 and a $25 second and third place like last time. Um, you you don't enter, you can't win. So you don't play, you don't win. We appreciate everybody who's already supported the raffle and the last one, knowing it is for a good cause for our community. So with that being said, Mel, thank you very much for coming. I know it almost didn't happen because something came up and then it went away. So I do appreciate you always supporting and being here and doing this with me as my co-host.
And likewise to you. And we will see everybody back in 2 weeks, back on a Wednesday, 4:30 Central, 5:30 Eastern, for more straight talk with Lori and Mel. Real people, real talk, no drama. See you guys.
See you guys.